You are experiencing the Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast.
It is May 13th, 2026, and welcome to the Knuckleheads of Liberty, where we're bringing you the people and the organizations fighting for liberty around the country and in your region. Today, we're going to have kind of an interesting show. It's going to be related to the debates because obviously the primaries are here for everybody, whether it be near the end of May here or running into early June. And so the big thing here in California is this whole California governor's race. The LA one, we talked a little bit about that last week, but the governor's race is definitely having some fireworks. And there's questions about, we have a top two system here in California, and there's a possibility it could be two Republicans on there, although right now we'll get into the numbers in a little bit. But that's really going to be the focus of the show today. So sort of how California's doing and how the candidates are talking about it. But before we get into that, let me introduce you to our panel. Here with us again, we have Leon, the word Brathwaite, last word in Liberty. He is a retired engineer in the state of California. We missed you last week, Leon. So, unusual show flying solo last week.
Sorry about that, but duty called.
Well, my name's Jason McPhee. I'll be your host tonight. So we always like to start the show with a quote of the day. And this time the quote is from somebody we haven't used before. But I thought it would be useful to hear this quote before hearing a bunch of slick talkers in a debate. So let's hear Mr. Heinlein, Robert Heinlein. He is a science fiction great. So you might notice him from or remember him from books like The Moon is a Harsh Mistress, I think, and movies like Starship Troopers. So those were stories by him. And if you know anything about science fiction, he's one of those names that pop up. But what he said was, you can sway 1,000 men by appealing to their prejudices quicker than you can convince one man by logic. So let's see if any of that applies to what we're going to hear tonight in this debate. Well, I know one thing's for sure. The current leadership we've had in California, logic went out the window a long time ago.
long time ago.
So what are your thoughts on this quote, Leon?
I mean, it is so true. You know, I mean, I think, you could use, you said prejudices, which I agree with. But I think emotions, you can say that people get so easily swayed by emotions. You know, one of the things that happen every political cycle is our friends on the left, if we can call them friends, the one thing they always appeal to is racism, whether it's talking about white superiority or white supremacy, or whether they're telling their fellow Black citizens about the supposed racism in our society that is oppressing them. Again, you get to the emotions and to the prejudice also, and every election cycle, the Democrats will use this particular emotion, this particular mantra, to gather their votes. And this is how they're swaying, you know, the 1,000 men that this guy is talking about. I mean, I'm using that metaphorically now. This is how they sway voters, especially Black voters, and to some extent Hispanic voters, by appealing to that emotion, that mantra of racism, or by talking about the white supremacy that is oppressing the forward movement of our fellow citizens who are Black and Hispanic. But if you sat down, and going back to the quote itself, if you sat down with someone and go through a whole logical discussion about why, yes, racism exists in society, but it's not a problem as it was, say, 50, 60 years ago. It certainly is not. Okay? I think you'll have a very hard case persuading those very same voters that the Democrats always appeal to. You know, it would be a very difficult case to make to have someone believe that mantra. But the Democrats always uses the racism, white supremacy mantra to gain votes. So the guy is absolutely right. You could sway 1,000 voters, but by emotions, but you cannot sway. You cannot use logic on just on one voter or 10 voters so that they can see what we will see as the truth.
Well, Leon, you said the word always. What odds would you give then tonight that we're going to hear something that's supposed to sway us by the R word?
Well, let me answer you this question in this manner. If I had the kind of odds that of to answer your question, if I had those kind of odds while playing poker, I would be a millionaire right now.
Yeah. And I think if you bet on it tonight, you'd be right again. So yeah, it wouldn't be let's put it this way, you'd have odds way above the house. You'd own the house eventually, but
I'm telling you, yeah. I'll buy the house. I would have bought the house. Yes.
There you go. Well, I tell you, it's funny that you did mention race too, because so we've had 3 debates now, but there was actually supposed to be a 4th one that occurred in the beginning, but we didn't actually have that debate because the Democrats wound up, they had a system set up in the California debate, the primary structure, where they decided what criteria you had to have in order to get into these debates. And they didn't like the complexion when the candidates wound up showing up. And so they canceled the debate. They literally said and it was a college, it was University of Southern California, who knew they were a den of racist bigots down there? But they wound up having to cancel the debate because all of the people in that first round who, were supposed to have qualified didn't meet, as happens in the colleges and everywhere else here in California. They didn't meet the complexion test. So anyways, that first one didn't happen. But then the next one, and that's the one we'll be focusing on tonight. I was hoping we'd get to more topics. We're actually going to go only to about 3 topics because I think that'll fill up our show pretty well, though. But hopefully, if this show goes well, then we'll hit some topics from the other debates as well. Because as I said, there was a 3rd and a 4th debate that wound up happening. In fact, the last one happened just this last Tuesday. So anyways, right now, let's see, before we get into the debate, how the polls are looking. So this is something I pulled up from, K-Ron had an Inside California Politics, Emerson College polling. They had a survey that just came out today, I believe, and it actually is showing Javier Becerra is now in the lead. So he is edging out Steve Hilton. And again, it is the top 2 that wind up going in California. It is irrespective of party. So right now it's Javier Becerra is apparently sitting at 19%. Steve Hilton is at 17. Tom Steyer is at 16.6, and Chad Bianco is at 11%. Now, a couple of weeks ago, Chad Bianco and Steve Hilton were both sitting above the other Democrats. So there was a chance that if you had 2 Republicans, that's most likely the only way a Republican is going to become governor in this state, because there's just too many insane people who vote Democrat. So I mean, you can see what's happening in the mayor's race down in Los Angeles right now. And I mean, the idea that Karen Bass would even be able to run again after burning down her city, if I don't know how many of you remember, but in fact, we talked about it last week a little bit with the story about Spencer Pratt and some of the ads he's been running in the race against her. But I mean, this is a story from Politico, and I mean, it's just like, they promised a fiery recovery in record time, and it's been a year. And they barely have a dozen houses, I think, rebuilt out of tens of thousands of homes that got destroyed. And we covered the video last week of Trump pushing Karen Bass on this immediately after the fires, and she promised that this stuff was going to get rebuilt in no time and people could get back to rebuilding. And we're literally, you can count them on two hands. I mean, that even if you're a graduate of a California elementary school, being able to count all the houses on two hands is doable, right? And somehow they just can't even get past that. I don't know why, but anyway, so this is kind of some of the stuff we're going to talk about, and let's just go through a few of the big topics that are hitting this state. So one of the big ones, and we'll touch on this a little bit in the debates tonight, is the refineries are bugging out of California. So it's not just the refineries, you got a lot of people bugging out as well, but I mean, this is, nuts. We used to have, my understanding is, over 30 refineries in the state, and
one time,
down,
yes.
Yeah. I mean, we're down to like 6 now or something, or 7. It's just nuts. And they keep saying, hey, we can't do business here. And California just says, kind of like what that governor of Seattle or mayor of Seattle said, well, bye. That's kind of what's happening here in California, with the refineries. So anyway, so that's one thing. Of course, we have issues with homelessness, and that'll get touched on as well in the debates tonight too. But I mean, California has one of the worst homelessness problems in the country. All you have to do is go into any big city and you'll see the tents and the sidewalks in the downtown areas. So it's pretty bad, and boarded up shops, and and poop patrols in San Francisco, and I imagine other places as well. And of course, the drug problem in California is tied into the homelessness problem, right? And so, you have government feeding, taking resources to feed the drug problem when they can't even get the housing issue under control. I mean, it's just absolutely nuts. In fact, Karen Bass, who we were just talking about here, she even mentioned just recently that she thought that these meth addicts needed some dental work. So that's
yes,
on her radar.
And,
Well,
she want taxpayers to pay for it, to pay for addicts to fix their teeth.
Exactly. So this is the kind of insanity that we're dealing with here in California. We have on the immigrant side, it's like on the immigration side of things, we've had a governor who has promised free health care to everybody. And that wound up putting the state in a hole for about $12 billion. He said it was going to save the state money. And so that's something that he's had to pull back on now. And, and of course, there's been issues with the trucking and just allowing illegal immigrants who couldn't speak English to pass these tests here in California, which has been getting people killed. And so that's going to factor into these debates as well tonight. But there's just all kinds of other issues too, just so you get a sense of the calamity of issues facing California. Here's California's performance in the national report card compared to other states. And now we're comparing the 8th grade level here. So this is within the K through 12 system, right? And if you look at where does California fall, right? I mean, people on the left like to assume that California is full of bright people, and we have Silicon Valley here, and we like to think, oh, we're the party of the science, so of course we have all the smart people here. Well, let's see how the schools are doing here, because let's see, we're not at number 1. So let's see, it looks like Massachusetts is right up there, then Wisconsin, Minnesota, Utah, New Jersey. Oh, it's funny, I still don't see. It looks like the average is way down here in the middle, and I still don't see any California. And here we are, California, just below Mississippi. And actually, I've heard Mississippi is actually doing a little bit better nowadays.
Yes, but, it is. It really is. Yeah.
This may be a little bit dated still, but California, this is the math ranking over here for proficiency. 25% proficiency in mathematics. And that's what we're looking at here. This other number, the higher number over here, is something called basic, which is not even proficient. They just like to have some other number that they can claim, hey, we're doing something here. But God knows what they're doing. But I mean, here's how they compare on the maps. And of course, the darker the color here, the better they're doing. And, California obviously is not doing too well, it looks like. So But yeah, we're looking at mathematics, and you can come here and look at science, writing, and reading as well. And they're not doing much better in reading either. So this is horrible failure, right? Under a Democrat monopoly, this is what we're getting here in California. So there's that. Then the high-speed rail, right? I mean, we have this issue. 60 Minutes just did a segment that's kind of blown up all over there, saying, "Hey, look, you guys don't even know what you're doing here." And it sounds like recently they wound up putting the brakes on it because it's 231 billion. So it sounds like they're pushing off some critical votes on this now because they're starting to be able to not stomach the price tag of getting this train to nowhere, even on a rail at some point. So this is California, right? Then we had an issue with massive crime happening all over the place. If you walked into a Walgreens and you took less than $950 worth of stuff, odds are you weren't going to jail, even if a police officer caught you. So what we had to do is California voters passed a proposition to force them to put these people in jail. And then the governor just said, "Sorry, we're not going to fund it." So we had an initiative here. We put it on the ballot to correct these issues. And the governor, that wasn't his priority. He has a priority for funding sex change operations for migrants and
giving healthcare and giving free healthcare to illegal aliens.
Exactly, but putting people in jail from stealing from citizens of California, sorry, no money for that, which is government's primary role here. So you can kind of see what life is like here in California. Then, of course, we recently talked about the big hospice fraud scandal, similar to what's going on in Minnesota. And this is our Attorney General Bonta here, whose wife is now trying to shut people up who are talking about this stuff. I mean, they're all Democrats, folks.
This is unbelievable, I mean, when you really think about it, seriously.
Well, and here, when we had our lockdowns, which weren't that far away, prisoners in jail were actually able to defraud our welfare system, our unemployment system, for over $1 billion while they're in jail. They were able to take this stuff out while Gavin Newsom was governor, right? So, I mean, this is, we're not done yet. Of course, we talked about all the people exiting the state. I mean, here's an article from the Los Angeles Times, and it says, "Hey, look, it's not just the billionaires trying to escape that wealth tax, right? Because that's the answer for Democrats about everything. Just go tax the rich, make them pay their fair share." Well, they're also driving a lot of regular mom and pops out of this state too. So, this is just absolutely nuts. And then, of course, we had the fires that Karen Bass, couldn't manage to control down there in Los Angeles, and Gavin Newsom as well, right? He has some responsibility to bear for that as well. And that's causing insurance companies to flee the state. So everybody's running away. So this is kind of the backdrop that we have going into this debate that we're going to talk about. And so let's meet some of the candidates here. So there's a slew of Democrats here. You can see here. We're going to introduce you to at least the top three. We didn't have time enough to get to 4 topics. Otherwise, we would have included a response from Mahan as well, since he's the next down on the list. But we have responses to questions from Becerra, Tom Steyer, and Katie Porter. That's the way we're going to show these, because we just don't have time on this to show everybody. Otherwise, you'd just be watching the entire debate. So we tried to take one representative Democrat and one Republican on each question so we could talk about it after the fact. And so let's see who these Democrat front runners are that we are going to be hearing from tonight.
Get ready. You're going to be saved. President Biden and Vice President Harris promised when they got into office that they were going to lower the cost of healthcare for more Americans with better benefits. Check, check, check. That's what happens when you have real leadership.
Well, we can see what Becerra thinks good leadership is. But what about Steyer? I mean, after all, he hasn't been a politician before. I think he was asked recently how he thought Governor Gavin Newsom did. Let's hear his response.
What grade would you give Governor Gavin Newsom for the last 2 terms?
I don't know.
You won't give us a grade. You won't grade him?
No, I haven't followed it closely enough to give him a grade.
Okay.
So according to Steyer, who wants to be our governor, he hasn't even been following what's been going on here in California. But I do hear, it sounds like we have one other that needs to chime in here as well.
Get out of my fucking shot.
So there you go. Those are the three Democrats we're going to hear from tonight. And as I said, we'll hear one response from a Republican as well. And our Knucklehead Noise Patrol is going to have a Steve Hilton thing, so we're going to have 2 and 2 on that. So you'll hear a little bit from them. Also, it's worth pointing out before we jump into this first segment as well that our current governor is going to be leaving office, Grifton Gavin Newsom. So, and he's going to need a new gig. And the way California's been doing, he thinks he's going to be president, but I don't think he's going to be president.
No.
Yeah. So, but one thing we've seen a lot of is that he loves to talk with his hands. And so we thought, well, it was almost a crime when I watched this debate that the Democrat politicians almost always love to have a sign speaker in their talks. And since the debate didn't provide that, I thought, well, let's let Governor Newsom have a dry run at this during the debate. So we're going to get to see him signing during the debate, showing those hand speaking skills off. And, maybe by the time we're done, we can decide, hey, maybe is this something we should have Gavin Newsom back for, the official signer of California. Anyways, let's jump to our first topic in the debate, and keep your eye on that right-hand corner so you can see the guy who's the current architect of all this madness signing for his life away in the corner there. So let's go. First topic is going to be on the gas tax. So here we go.
The race for governor turned upside down as the frontrunner withdrew in a scandal. Now, for the first time, the new leading candidates square off.
The first question will be on affordability and the gas tax. And on those, we'll hear from, on the Democrat side, we'll listen to Steyer's answer. And on the Republican side, we'll listen to the Sheriff Bianco's answer.
Should we cut the gas tax? You have 60 seconds.
Let me say that the reason that gasoline is so expensive, that our president, Donald Trump, has started an insane war in Iran and driven up the cost of gasoline for everybody in California. That has put $70 billion into the pockets of the oil companies who actually put him in the presidency. Californians are suffering across the board. The biggest problem in California is that the Californians can't afford to live here anymore. The answer on this is not to give up the gas tax, but actually to have a windfall profit tax on the oil companies who have been ripping us off for decades. That's on the books. We can activate it right away. We can get the money, and we should send it directly back to California citizens.
So the answer from Steyer is let's tax the billionaires, and let's hear what Bianco's answer is.
Thank you. Mr. Bianco, you have said you want the total elimination of the gas tax. How would we fund roads and bridges? You have 60 seconds.
So funding roads and bridges is a fundamental responsibility of government. We need to get rid of the rest of all the waste, fraud, and the abuse of the rest of government, which all of the Democrat policies over the last 20 years, 30 years have created. We only have the highest gas price in the country because of Democrat policies that are absolutely destroying the oil industry, the automobile industry, and forcing those prices up, forcing our refineries out of the state, forcing our oil companies from drilling in our state. When you send oil, make it into gasoline and send it to across state lines, and it miraculously becomes $2 cheaper, you know that your state is the problem. It is Democrat policies for the last 20, 30 years that are driving the cost of not only gasoline, but the cost of living in California up. We have the highest cost of living in the country because we have had one party, Democrat progressive rule for decades that is destroying the state.
So there you go. And of course, the issue, as we talked about earlier, is refineries are literally leaving the state. So
sure. Yes.
And one thing that I really like that I heard Bianco say, because I've never really heard anybody describe it this way. I mean, anybody who follows this stuff knows that the California gas taxes and there's all kinds of other regulations that have impacts on how much, for instance, there are air pollution rules and climate rules that these refineries have to comply with. And so all these things cost extra money. And as Chad Bianco said, hey, look, if the gasoline is literally being made in a refinery in California, and then when it ships to Nevada, suddenly it's like $1 or $2 cheaper, you know that there's a problem driving that cost here in California. So, I mean, it's absolutely nuts, I guess. But I kind of liked at least the way he described that. So what do you think about all this, Leon? I know this is sort of your bailiwick.
Well, this thing about about gasoline prices, it is true. Average prices are up. I mean, nationwide, partly because of the war. The Strait of Hormuz is right now shut down, and about 20% of the world oil normally go through that strait. So that part is true in the sense it have risen gasoline prices in the marketplace. But all these damn nonsense by the Democrats, the oil billionaires, the who Trump caused this because he started the war and all this kind of stuff, is a set of nonsense. The reason we have a problem here with gasoline prices in California, it's mainly because in California, it's required by law to have a special blend for the environment and the pollution issues and all that kind. And that blend includes MTBE. I forgot what the acronym stands for. But they must
methyl tributyl ethane. I can't remember exactly what it is.
Yeah, it's some long kind of convoluted thing. And this was put in, I believe, about 15, 20 years ago. And it immediately drove up prices. And then the people like the California Energy Commission and all these other people who was instrumental in the implementation of these special blends started pointing fingers. Oh, it's the oil companies. It's the oil companies. It's the oil companies. What are they supposed to do when they pass these ridiculous rules? And on top of that, now they don't want oil producers. At least they're trying to limit oil producers drilling in California and drilling and producing oil and gas in California. We have a wealth of oil and gas here in California. We do, okay, but they have made it so impossible for it to be developed. Only few of our resources in California are developed in Kern County and some of the surrounding areas down there. But the California government, led by Gavin Newsom, have been nothing but a nuisance to the consumers of California with all their rules and regulations to save the environment that does nothing but drive prices up. And they're talking about this affordability issue, as if the government can do anything about affordability. They can't. Only the marketplace can do something about affordability. Only the marketplace where supply and demand could meet at lower levels, that we can end up with a lower price. But
Leon, let me jump in real quick, because we're just about to lose our time with public access. So if you're watching us here on public access and you want to hear the rest of this show, where we're going to also talk about a little bit about some immigration issues and homelessness issues in the debate that came up, then check us out on knuckleheadsofliberty.com and you can hear the rest of the discussion there. We'll also push back just a tiny bit on what Leon just said as well, so go check it out. Okay, back to you, Leon.
Well, I want to hear a pushback. Let's go.
Okay, well, I just wanted to, maybe it's not completely a pushback, but it's a clarification on the MTBE issue. So the big issue is the Reed vapor pressure of the gasoline. That's what makes it California gasoline slightly different from the federal gasoline, and we wind up having a lower Reed vapor pressure, I believe it is, than the federal number, and that winds up essentially controlling the amount of evaporative emissions that contribute to smog. So that's the problem, is that California is the only one in the nation using that, and so therefore we've got what people refer to as a boutique, type of gasoline here, and it does start to beg the question: is, well, would it make that much of a difference if we just went to the federal standard of gasoline, where they also control the Reed vapor pressure? They're just not controlling it as tightly as California, but you'd open up the entire market to California if they were to do that. And one of the other issues, just on the air pollution side, is my understanding is that NOx, nitrogen oxides, are actually the limiting factor right now in smog production, which means that we may have this control on RVP, and it may not be making that much of a difference, right? If it's really the NOx that's driving it. So, yeah. So, this is maybe one of these things where, we do things as a government. It makes sense when we initially do it, and maybe it's not making complete sense 30 or 40 years down the line, but we're still doing it for some reason. Anyways, I just wanted to clarify a little bit about what you were saying.
I know. Well, we had a lot of debates. I was working for the Energy Commission when this thing was being implemented. We had a lot of debates about all of these issues, especially the NOx issue. We had a lot of debates about that, and but nobody was listening because this was going to save the environment, save it from pollution, and save it from all these other stuff. There was also require ethanol and that kind of stuff. The way you use corn and producing.
And Leon, some of that too is a federal thing. Like I couldn't believe it when I started looking into this stuff like around 10 years ago. There's all of these things that were pushed by Bush and other presidents way in the past that are part of what they call energy security, and they're forcing a certain amount of ethanol into your gas tank.
Yes,
just like, nuts. It's government doing one thing after another. And to be honest, I don't even think California regulators are that happy about that, but they're forced to go along with it too. So,
but Jason, though, seriously though, do you see any pushback from California about some of the federal standards, which we all know are a bunch of ridiculous nonsense? Do you see any pushback in California? No, we don't. We take the federal standards and we never push back against it.
Immigration standards, but not, not pollution standards.
So I mean, California rules and regulations are so ridiculous. It's driving out all the refineries out of California. I mean, you just spoke about it. At one time, absolutely true. We had, I think, over 30 refineries here in California. Now we are down to maybe 6. I mean, I think Chevron is leaving, or Mobil, one of them is leaving here shortly. And we are doing all of these things. Oh, we're going to save the environment, and everything is going to be nice and wonderful. And all our suppliers of gasoline is moving out of the state. So what do you think is going to happen? Prices are going to be higher because we have to transport. All of that have to be some of the gasoline has to be transported in, which is going to raise the cost of having it get to consumers. So I don't know where these people just think sometimes. They're just completely insane to me.
Yeah. Apparently it's a Phillips 66 in Los Angeles. It says it's shutting down in 2026. And the Valero Benicia refinery is, I guess, just closed in April of 2026. So
yes.
So anyways, these are some of the ones that are leaving the state. And like I said, it's not just because of that air pollution, but it's also, climate issues and just general taxes and penalties on these guys and vilifying them every step of the way. I mean, you saw what Tom Steyer said there. If the prices went up to some degree because of Trump with Iraq, well, you would see that price spike uniformly across the country, right? That's why California is still $1 or $2 higher than all the other states, right? And yet Steyer is acting like, oh, it's just these greedy oil men who are trying to take the money. We need a windfall tax. I mean, why would they stay here, right? I mean, this is just nuts. If that's the answer every time something like this happens, that it's these greedy oil companies, right? Well, they're
always,
so yeah.
And just for the record, under the Carter administration, we did have a windfall profit tax on the oil companies. And where did that get us? Where did it get us? See, we seem like we never learn our lessons about these stupid ass, pardon my language, taxation that we have on oil companies or other businesses.
It is kind of funny too, as Bianco pointed out, right? If it was just greed here in California, why does the price drop immediately when the gasoline goes?
Exactly. Because that gasoline that is shipped out of the state, they don't have this special blend nonsense that we doing that's required here in California. That's the biggest part of the reason.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so that's one topic. Oh, and by the way, before we jump to our next topic, there is something I forgot to clarify. When we showed some of the crazy statements of the candidates, we showed Becerra, and he was talking about how Biden and Kamala did such a great job with healthcare, in reducing costs. And so I did want to bring up a visual here, and I'm using a couple different sources. But to debunk that nonsense. I mean, I don't think anybody today thinks that somehow they wound up experiencing some great amount of savings in healthcare anytime recently. But here we have, this is the Fed, so the Federal Reserve of St. Louis. And you can see here the trend. This is healthcare expenditures per capita in the United States. And you can see it's just going up and up and up and up. And it looks like according to their numbers, it dropped for 1 year from 2019 to 2020. Who was president then? That was actually President Trump's first term, and then it kept going up. So that's one set of data. Here is the World Health Organization. They don't even show that one drop, but they just show this increase, and they go a couple years farther. They go out to 2023, but it's getting steeper during Biden's administration, the per capita cost in healthcare. It's not getting less. I mean, unless you count just the 1 year there from 2019 to 2020, which according to the Federal Reserve data, that was actually a year it was supposed to have gone down. So I'm not sure exactly, how they're calculating all these numbers, but this is a few different sources. And then finally, there's another one called macrotrends.net, just pulled this one out of a hat. But you can see that their trends for healthcare spending per capita are also just continuing up. This goes through 2022. And so, you look at those Biden years, they're pretty steep up there. So, and Becerra is saying that's leadership. So,
well, thank God that shows leadership. Okay. Because if it did not, I don't know what healthcare would have cost right now. Thank God it showed leadership. Thank you, Mr. Javier Becerra, for your deep insight.
The bottom line is the more government you get in these things, everything tends to cost more. Right? We're going to see some examples of that later in the show as well. Go ahead, Leon.
We know the rule, every time the government touches something, it turns to, I wouldn't use the word, but it turns to human crap. Let me just put it that way.
Well, speaking of human crap and the government, that brings us to homelessness in California. And that's actually the next topic that we're going to have. So let's hear how a few of the candidates think that we're doing on homelessness.
There are 187,000 people experiencing homelessness in the state right now. In a recent Inside California Politics poll, 86% of those surveyed believe the homeless problem has stayed the same or is getting worse. We want to ask a question about Governor Newsom's performance on homelessness. What letter grade would you give him on handling the issue? And what, if anything, would you do differently?
On homelessness, we're going to hear from Javier Becerra and Steve Hilton.
Mr. Becerra, we haven't seen you issue a letter grade on Governor Newsom's overall performance. What grade does he get on homelessness? And what, if anything, would you do differently? You have 60 seconds.
Frank, I would say that the governor has made efforts. We've seen him come down to Los Angeles, actually go out and try to clean some of the streets. On effort, I would give him an A. Here's what I would do that's different, though. I would focus on accountability. I would make sure if we're sending billions of dollars down to the local communities, to our cities and our counties, that we would demand accountability for the dollar that we're going to give them. We need to see results, and results are what you see on the streets. We need to pull folks up, help get them back on their feet, and that's what I would do. But what I will tell you is my principal job as governor, and I'm glad to hear other people are saying this, is I'm going to keep you housed. If you are in a home right now, renting or owning, if you lose your job unexpectedly, or you have a medical emergency, and now you're about to become homeless as a result of that now unaffordable expense, tell me what you need. How can I help you keep your home? Because
you're saying that anyone who needs housing assistance, you will help them. That means the government will help them. How much is that going to cost? And where does that money come from? You have 30 seconds.
Yeah, Frank, we spend billions, tens of billions of dollars right now to try to pull people off the streets. Do you think it's working? It would cost us a fraction of that amount to help someone who temporarily lost their job stay in the home. If they, for 2 or 3 months, fall behind on the rent, they don't get kicked out, because we'll try to support them. A zero interest loan. You can keep them in their home.
Wow, the most homeless people of any state, and Javier Becerra gives that an A. Let's hear what Steve Hilton thinks about it.
My goodness, of course it's an F. It shames our state, the situation with homelessness. We have about 10% of the US population, around 50% of the country's homeless population. And as for Javier praising Gavin Newsom for the photo op where he tried to pretend he was cleaning up a homeless encampment, literally Gavin Newsom did that 3 times in a row. Nothing changed. And nothing will change if you have one of these Democrats in power. It will be more of the same. My plan is a common sense 3-point plan. Number 1, it is illegal to live and camp on the streets. We need to enforce the law. Number 2, we need to get people into the drug treatment treatment that they need, and it cannot be a choice. Number 3, we need to get people the mental health care that they need instead of the barbaric situation we have right now in California as a result of these Democrat policies, where the main place where we're treating people with mental health problems is jail. That has to change.
Mr. Hilton, thank you. Ms. Porter, Mr. Becerra, I'll let you respond, but I just want to clarify the second part of my question. Do you think the governor has done anything right on homelessness?
No, everything has taken us in the wrong direction. That's why we spend, what is it, the state auditor found, $24 billion of our money spent on homelessness. They have no idea where it went because it's going into these non-profits and crony developers that are, instead of solving the problem, they are profiting.
Okay, Mr. Hilton, thank you. Your time is up. Thank you.
And so there you have it. Again, you know, we've talked about this on the show a lot, but $24 billion unaccounted for, just spending the money. Yeah. And it just keeps getting worse, and nobody can account for metrics on how they've been doing per dollar, other than the fact that we can see the homelessness problem growing. Right. So while I guess some political hacks in the middle there are, I guess are doing pretty well. So
of course, because all these grifters in the homeless industrial complex are doing very well, getting very wealthy, very wealthy. I understand there may be some connection to Gavin. One of the nonprofits is connected to Gavin Newsom's wife, as far as I understand it. Somebody reported on that. But the point is here, all of California's policies, all of their policies in terms of dealing with the homeless problem are trying to treat the wrong problem. Okay? There are 3 reasons why people end up on the street. Either it's a drug problem, it's an alcohol problem, or mental challenges. Those are the 3 reasons. Now, there are people who may be temporarily displaced because through some economic issue, and that does happen. But those are the vast minority of the people. But California policies is always geared to dealing with, the new word now is the unhoused, as if there's somehow or the other taxpayers are supposed to be housing these people. The unhoused.
Hold on. Don't you just love the way that, every time a problem pops up for Democrats, the first way they address it is by changing the words that we
exactly.
I remember we used to call these people, when I was a kid, hobos.
Yes.
Call them, I think before they called them hobos, they called them bums. and eventually they decided, well, those are too, derogatory. Let's call them homeless. And now, because we see that the homelessness is a big problem, let's change the word again. Unhoused.
Unhoused. And I'm sure when that word becomes unpopular, as it soon will become, they'll find some new word. Believe me, they'll find some new word. It's just like they call these illegal aliens who cross our borders at will. They are now called undocumented. I don't know what the hell that means, quite frankly, undocumented. But anyway, I don't want to go too far off the issue here. But these policies that are directed at the homeless population are all wrong, period. They're not dealing with the issues that cause people to be homeless. And listen to this scandal as is going in the state here. And up to now, I don't know what is being done. I don't know who is going to jail. $24 billion was sent into this homeless industrial complex. And we don't know our taxpayer dollars that was sent. And we don't know what happened to that money. Who is going to jail for this? Somebody should be. Who's going to jail? Where is the accountability? And all these Democrats could tell us about, we need to spend a little more. We need to tax the rich. We need to tax the billionaires. They don't pay their fair share. And that's the damn nonsense we keep hearing. But fine. Let us suppose that you have a point that I don't agree, but let's suppose you have a point. We need to do a little more taxing on the quote unquote rich, the billionaires. Are you going to account for all the money that have already been spent? Where we've seen all these people who are the heads and the top and the top directors or top managers in these nonprofits. You see them doing very well, very wealthy. They're driving fancy cars, and where's the money going? They're not solving the homeless problem because it's getting worse, as it has in the last 10 years. It was Gavin Newsom 25 years ago, when he was mayor of San Francisco, told us that he have a 10-year problem. He have a 10-year plan to solve the homeless problem. And that was 25 years ago. So we're still waiting to see the results. And
I don't know if it was a full 25, but it's getting close to 20 at least.
Well, whatever it is, we know it's longer than the 10-year plan. We know that for sure, right? But I thought he had this plan somewhere in the 1990s. So I thought.
No, I think his plan was somewhere around 2010 or something. I think that's around when he was mayor of San Francisco. Maybe it was 2008, 2010, something like that. So
okay, I'll accept the correction. But regardless, though, since that plan came out, though, right? Let me accept it. 2010 or whenever. Since that plan came out, the homeless problem have gotten astronomically worse. Yeah. So what have been the results of any of this? Whether the money spent, whether Gavin Newsom's utopian plan, where is the money going? Where have it gone? We don't know. We only know the grifters are getting very wealthy. The grifters are getting better. That problem, their wealth problem, that is improving remarkably. The grifters, but nobody else. Not the people who are supposed to be improved, whose lives are supposed to be improved by all this money, which we don't even know what happened to it. But they want more. They want more of it.
Only in a place like California could just failure after failure be rewarded with, more responsibility. That's what we see here in California, right? It's these people who can, just bamboozle us with the changes in words and the quick hands, that we keep seeing Gavin Newsom do.
Yes.
I'm not as skilled as that is. But we'll get back to him, and he can demonstrate a little more for us in the next topic. But I mean, that is just it's nuts, right? Because he said he was going to end it, and he's exported it from the Bay Area. I mean, I remember when I was I took a trip down there. God, it must have been in the late 90s, I think it was. And I was kind of shocked then. I'd never seen homelessness the way I saw it there in San Francisco. Right. I mean, I live in Sacramento, and that's just a few hours away. And me and my wife, we stayed at a place near Market Square, where I guess they had, a lot of the fancier shopping area was and stuff. But about 6 blocks down from that or so is Market Street. And so we were just exploring on foot, and we walked down toward Market Street, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I mean, you had some blocks where people were just sprawled out across the sidewalk. I'd never seen anything like that before in the United States. And you practically had to play hopscotch to get around them on the sidewalk.
Yes.
Right? It was just absolutely nuts. And sure enough, within 10 years, I was starting to see that in Sacramento as well. So, I mean, this is just, it's been a horrible problem that has just been festering under Democrat control. And of course, the San Francisco has probably been run by Democrats for 50 or 60 years. So, I mean, it's just like this problem is hatched in these horrifying, left-wing areas, and they just spread like cancer throughout the rest of the state, if they're not contained.
But it get back to your favorite topic, central planning. The government is involved. Central plan. They're not going to solve anything, because it's only the bureaucrats and the nonprofits get wealthy from trying to quote unquote solve these problems. This is what central planners do. The central planners always live very well, and the bureaucrats always live very well. The head of the nonprofits live very well, but the people who are targeted by these programs end up in the same mess they have been for the 10, 15, 20, 30 years, or however long these programs have been initiated. It is just ridiculous.
Well, Leon, we're getting up to the third topic now, and we haven't heard the R word yet. So are you going to hedge your bets on this? Or is it, do you think it's a sure thing we're going to hear something on this next topic?
I will. Like I said, Jason, if I had the kind of odds when I'm playing poker, I would be a millionaire. So I'm not hedging my bet on this one at all.
Okay, good instinct. You can never figure out how to make money out of this someday. You'll get your million. So let's go on to the next one. And of course, this one ties into the immigration. It's not quite the anti-ICE debate stuff that we were talking about before, but it has to do with the issue of the migrant truckers and some of the craziness around that. So let's get to that topic and hear what a couple of the candidates have to say about that.
In an exclusive Cron 4 report, a California Highway Patrol officer was recorded giving a roadside English proficiency test to a commercial truck driver. Let's take a look at the video.
And then do me a favor. Tell me what this sign means. So what does this mean? What is it telling you? What does this sign mean?
This video is captured following the U.S. Department of Transportation withholding $40 million in funding, saying California is the only state in the country that refuses to ensure big rig drivers can read road signs and communicate with law enforcement.
So this time we will hear on the migration issue from Chad Bianco and Katie Porter.
Thank you. Mr. Bianco, you are the only law enforcement officer on the stage tonight. Should this type of roadside testing become standard practice across California? And what should happen to drivers if they do fail? You have 60 seconds.
Well, we have to, first off, acknowledge that we actually do have rules and we actually do have laws. And if they are not abiding by those laws and California is giving them driver's licenses when they do not qualify for those driver's licenses and we're sending them out onto the streets, we also have seen several horrific accidents that were attributed to people that did not understand English or that could not comprehend the road signs or the street signs that they were supposed to be abiding by. So we don't know the context of this. This is what's super important, especially in law enforcement. You have to know the entire context of this entire stop and this entire video, not just the small section. But if he is verifying whether or not someone can read signs, my guess is he was stopped for violating a sign and he's trying to verify that he could. And let's stop with this whole racism thing and racial profiling and all of this garbage. We have to get over this. You either violated the law or you didn't. End of story. Consequences for bad behavior.
Now that we've heard from Chad Bianco with the benefit of law enforcement experience, let's hear from Katie Porter.
Ms. Porter, same question. Do you believe that English proficiency, language proficiency, should be strictly enforced for truck drivers? You have 60 seconds.
I would absolutely fight the Trump administration because the job of the California governor is to protect Californians. And right now, that includes protecting them from Donald Trump. Protecting Californians also includes enforcing traffic laws. And we've seen sometimes a need for oversight in California. For example, we have seen that the Department of Motor Vehicles was not enforcing rules around DUIs and drivers who had convictions for that. I am stunned that Mr. Bianco would say to black and brown Californians and immigrants who are being terrorized and racially profiled that you have to get over racism. It's not something that you get over, it's something that you fight. And if he doesn't understand the importance of that, he has no business representing a state with the diversity of California.
And so there we go. Immediately turned into racism, whether or not somebody could actually meet the standards.
Yes, I would have won my bet. You see what I mean? I would have won my bet. You see? Telling you, man, if I had these kind of odds and playing poker, I would be a millionaire. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, this is the issue, right? Is that we've seen this now several times since this came to light, that, you know, we had several of these people who were either, I'm not even sure if they were illegal immigrants or just immigrants who couldn't speak English, but whatever the case was, they had driver's licenses that you would have had to have been able to read a test in English to pass, exactly. Right?
Exactly.
If it was honest. That's the question, right? Is something being done to allow people to skirt whatever the system is? You know, I mean, I know I haven't taken the commercial driver's license test, but just for a normal driver's license, the test is written in English. You've got to be able to read it in order to pass it. And yes. So if people who can't even read the test in front of the policeman are sitting there, I mean, if they can't even read a sign that a policeman is showing him, that shows that, man, there must be some corruption happening here in these places, you know, where they're handing out these licenses. And it really begs the question, why, right? I mean, are these people essentially being farmed like you know, I guess a a lower class of people now suddenly because they're below the radar, and so they're being taken advantage of by some unscrupulous businesses or something else like that? I don't know, but clearly there's a problem here if the people who are driving these trucks cannot even read English. So,
well, I think you're right. That is true. That the people driving the trucks and they can't even read English, but they're driving these 18-wheelers on the freeway. We have heard about some horrific accidents. It is true. But Jason, the bigger problem is that most of these people have actual California issued driver's license. So how did they get that? If they cannot, you just mentioned the fact that all of these tests are written in English. I have done driver's tests in three different states so far, and all of them were in English. And I mean, how did these people get by these examinations and nobody notice that they have an English deficiency? How is this possible? So there must be some corruption within government that is causing this. So Gavin Newsom and company must somehow or the other quietly pushing these policies that says that even if the person can't pass an English proficiency test, it is okay to still issue the driver's license. I think this is madness when you think about it. I am so perplexed by all of this, and maybe even somewhat outraged when you think about it.
You saying it's madness makes Katie Porter say you're a racist. I don't know, Leon.
Well, okay. If that accusation is coming from Katie Porter, I will probably wear the banner. Okay. All right. Now, Katie, now you think about this insanity for a second. I am an immigrant. Okay. I have had driver's license in 3 different states so far. All right. And never once it was suggested to me, or never once I ever tried or intended to say, well, my English is a little bit weak. It is different from everybody else. It does sound different. So if you could give me a break. Never once have anything like that happened to me or to anyone who I know who are also immigrants. This is an insanity beyond an insanity. There's some corruption deep within the government that is causing this thing to happen. And there we go again. Central planners touching things and turning it into human crap. Because not only into human crap is it turning into the death of American citizens. Most of the people so far that have been involved in these horrific accidents, most of them, not all of them, most of them are illegal aliens, people walking across the border who are committing crimes, and yet they can get these driver's license. I mean, I could be driving down the road and speeding like hell and stuff like that. The police officer stopped me. Am I supposed to say, well, officer, well, I'm an immigrant, okay? You see the color of my skin? I'm an immigrant. You can't attack black and brown people like this. You hear how I speak? I'm an immigrant. You gotta give me a break. Could I say that? I'll be laughed out of court if I tried something like this. This is craziness beyond belief, and this is corruption beyond belief, because there's something within the DMV that is causing these things to happen, where people who don't know English and can't even read signs are being given driver's license. How is this happening in our state? This is madness.
Yeah. Yep. And that sounded very racist, Leon. So I just
well, Jason, I already clarified that, okay? If the racism accusation is coming from people like Katie Porter, I will probably wear the badge. Thank you.
I do have to ask you, because unfortunately that's all the debate topics. Now we are going to hit one other topic in just a second, our Knucklehead Noise Patrol. We're going to talk about Gavin Newsom's recent grift, his diaper hustle that's going on. But before we get to that, I did want to ask you, because as I said at the beginning of the show, Newsom is going to be out of office soon and he's going to need a new gig. And how do you think he did as a signer tonight?
If you want to be true, I thought he was dancing for the pleasure of the audience there. I didn't really realize that he was professionally signing. Honestly, I did not. So the way I saw him, like, I thought he was doing a little professional dancing there. So maybe that was his second gig. I didn't realize he was actually being a professional signing. For the those that are challenged with their problems and that kind of stuff. I didn't realize he was professionally signing. I thought he was dancing for us. Not a very good dancer anyway, but I thought that's what was going on, quite frankly.
Well, I tell you, it doesn't sound like you were that impressed, but everybody deserves a second chance. So if we hit more of these debate topics next week, we'll bring him back for one more try.
Oh, we'll bring him back. Okay. Maybe I'll be more impressed. Maybe I'll be more impressed next week. Maybe.
Okay, well, let's get to our final topic. And this one, again, touches on the governor's race just because it's the current governor and one of these grifts that he's involved in again. And one of the gubernatorial candidates calling him out on it. And it all has to do with a diaper program that kind of stinks. So let's check out this video here so you can all see what's happening here.
You know exactly what I'm holding in my hand, diapers. We'll be distributing 40 million free diapers this year to new families to address one of the real cost challenges they face, the affordability of diapers.
So Grifton Gavin has a new plan for free diapers. Something that doesn't quite smell right here. Let's hear what California gubernatorial candidate Steve Hilton has noticed about this plan.
All right, so Gavin Newsom is taking $20 billion of your money to send 100,000 babies 400 diapers. That works out at 50 cents per diaper. We just came into Target to check out what you could buy it for in the store. Here you go, just check this one out here. $162.26, that works out at 16 cents per diaper. Gavin Newsom's diapers are 3 times more expensive. This isn't even Costco. Why is it 3 times more expensive for Gavin Newsom to send diapers to 100,000 babies than just leaving the money in the bank accounts of the parents in the first place? Because it's going to some total bullshit non-profit, which the cronies of his are going to make money, and that is what is wrong with California. Instead of just cutting taxes so you can afford diapers and sending it out in this ridiculous bureaucratic scheme.
And his wife is tied to the NGO that is involved in this as well.
Yes.
I don't think she's actually runs this particular NGO, but it's one of these things where she is, I think, sitting on the board of that one, and some of the others sit on her board. And so there's just kind of this grift, that happens with these people. But this is the craziness, right? It explains the entire story of California while these Democrats have been in charge. And they have all these programs that when you listen to them talk about it, it sounds so nice. It's like, I've got a bunch of diapers that I want to make sure every mom has diapers. And it would be so nice if they didn't have to think about diapers. Like, what mom goes to the hospital and is worried that she has to carry 400 diapers out of the hospital with her? Right? I mean, that's the last thing on most moms' minds when they enter that hospital, right? So I just, but Gavin's got a plan and he's handing out free stuff, but that free stuff is massively expensive when it's a government program that is providing it. And that's what we're seeing here. I mean, as Hilton is showing, the price is at least 3 times the price that these people would pay themselves. So if you just gave them a diaper card and told them you got money to go spend at a store, it would still cost the state less. But then Gavin wouldn't have the fun of handing out the diapers, right? And so now we all get to pay so that Gavin can pretend he's diaper Santa. Right?
Yes, as he handled the expensive shitty diapers. Yes, Gavin, that's great. But this speaks really to the larger problem of government involvement in society. I mean, why does the government have to be handing out something like diapers? Okay, I mean, we're just going to use this as one example. Why? What could be the rational basis for any of this? But no, Gavin is looking for a political prop. He's looking for some political capital. So he's going to give all these diapers to everybody. And when government gets involved with anything, we know what happens to those programs. They turn to human crap. We know that. And what do you think is going to happen? Look at the cost of these diapers. They are 3 times what you could find at Target or Walmart or one of these places. 3 times, maybe 4 times. Who the hell knows? But there's Gavin laughing and smiling about this wonderful thing that he's about to do. And this is the problem of central planning. They always end up costing us, taxpayers, us me and you, always end up costing us more than we should be paying. And you're absolutely right. If we think there's some social good in giving out diapers to these poor migrant or whoever the hell he wants to give it to, poor mothers, we're going to give them all these nice, wonderful diapers just to make them feel good. If we wanted to do that, give them the diaper card and let them go to Costco. It'll cost us a hell of a lot less to do that. But no, Gavin have to show us what a wonderful guy he is, Mr. Signing, who the hell know what he did? Yes. Yeah. He got to show us what a great guy he is. So he's gonna give diapers. I guess next thing they're going to see a video of Gavin holding all his shitty diapers on his shoulder, and he's going to take it to someone mother. Oh, here's our gift to you on the birth of a new baby. Oh, where's little Johnny? Let me kiss little Johnny and tell him I brought him these diapers. Some kind of crap like that. We're gonna see that soon, I'm sure. Gavin and his grifting ways.
Yeah. Well, and given the other programs they have going here in California, I wouldn't want to let a Democrat politician anywhere near your baby because they might be confusing them right out of the gate.
Exactly.
They got a lot bigger problems than diapers at that point.
Of course.
But this is indicative though of why not only this program of this diaper program is full of shit, but his whole record is full of shit, and that's the issue, right? That's why this is such a good example, because it's such an easy one for people to understand. As Steve Hilton explains it, yes. And you can see how this translates to every other program. So it's just kind of a nice example. But anyway, so I think for next week we'll probably, unless something big comes up in the news. With these primaries coming up still, we'll probably hit some more of the debate topics next week. So, Leon, did you have any other thoughts before we leave?
I think at the end of the day, we are missing a large part of what good governance is. We need to have more accountability in our system, because we have people out there who are manipulating people to do things. Let's just get back to our original quote. They are manipulating voters to vote for things that they shouldn't otherwise vote for. But yet, logic and reason cannot win the day in many cases. All they have to do is to shout things like racism, white supremacy, and all this damn nonsense. And we are left, and all of that have financial consequences, and we are always left with it. So we have to get back to accountability in government. If we don't do that, our republic will be lost. That is why we are seeing these great, mind-boggling amounts of fraud that is in the system right now. We have to get back to accountability in government. Otherwise, we are lost as a nation.
Gavin Newsom and their program is full of shit, and we all get left holding the bag.
There you go.
Until the next program, think of what you can do in your community to advance the ball for liberty. There's all these people out there who are highlighting the fraud and grift. There's people out there trying to maybe help out their, maybe their libertarian party or other efforts to try to counteract some of this just socialist nonsense that's going on out there. But regardless, we can see there's still a full court press. There's a lot more Democrats here in California than there are other people, and they're all still hungry for free stuff, and it's going to come out of your pocket if you don't stand up. So I tell you, now's the time. Until the next show, stay tuned and stay free.
Oh, yes, indeed. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, always and forever.
Thank you for listening to the Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. Find us on Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, your favorite podcast network, and at knuckleheadsofliberty.com.